Iran. You said our Iran. It's all tired. We're America. The president, the secretary of state are supposed to be like superheroes. They're supposed to be able, they're supposed to be respected all over the world: Africa, South America, Caribbean, Asia, Europe. We don't have that anymore in America. And obviously, it's an issue if you look around. When I think of presidents and secretary of states, I think of always Abraham Lincoln and William Seward. Abraham Lincoln, the Illinois lawyer from Springfield, Illinois, and William Seward, former New York governor, U.S. senator in New York. They both wanted to be president. Seward had the resume, though. Seward had the resume. He had the college. He had the titles. 1848, Seward and Lincoln met in Massachusetts. Lincoln was a one-term congressman, and Seward, I can't remember if he was governor or U.S. senator of New York. He got a statue in New York. If you go to Manhattan, on one of those, I think 33rd, 32nd, all those streets of New York. I haven't passed it in a while. Was in New York last Thursday. New York. So they met in Massachusetts 12 years before Lincoln was elected president. They were campaigning for Zachary Taylor, President Zachary Taylor. They shared a room together. And then in 1860, they were competing for the Republican nomination for president. Seward knew he had it in the bag. Lincoln came to New York, Cooper Union, gave a speech, blew up, went to Exeter, New Hampshire, where his son was at school, at the prep school in Exeter Academy. He was prepping for his Harvard in the news lately. And this is 1860, February. He was prepping for his Harvard entry exams. By the time Lincoln left Cooper Union in Brooklyn, William Seward's home turf, he ends up in New Hampshire, gives 7 speeches in 2 days, 2 hours apiece, blows up, goes to the convention, goes to the convention in May in Chicago. Nobody ever thought Lincoln was going to be a candidate. So they ended up having it in Chicago, Illinois. The wigwam, Lincoln's backyard. And so they came in, and William Seward had this big party at his house in maybe Albany, New York. I think it's Auburn, New York. And first ballot, Seward was up big. Second ballot, the lead shrank. Third ballot, Lincoln stole the nomination from him. And Seward knew it was a wrap. Lincoln made Seward his Secretary of State. Team of rivals, Doris Kearns Goodwin. One of the great stories. Seward handled everything. They were like Batman and Robin or something. Superman and Batman. Lincoln got assassinated that night. And they tried to assassinate William Seward the same night his family. William Seward was in bed because he had a horse and carriage accident. So he was in bed. The same attackers who gunned down Lincoln came in Seward's house. His son, his daughters fought him off. Weeks later, they never told Seward that Lincoln was assassinated because he was in such shock from the horse and carriage accident and his own assassination attempt. But on Easter Sunday, as Doris Kearns Goodwin writes in Team of Rivals, one of the great books, Seward looked out. He lived in D.C. He looked out at Lafayette Park, and he seen the flag at half staff. And he looked again, and something clicked in his head. And he looked at his aide and the reporter that was sitting by his bed. He said, "The president is dead." The aide said, "No, he isn't. No, he isn't." And Seward knew for sure the president was gone, because Seward said, "If the president's alive, why hasn't he come to see me? If the president was alive and he knew I was attacked, he would have been the first one by my bed." And at that moment, Seward knew that his commander in chief and his partner in crime had been assassinated at Ford's Theater, gunned down. That night, Lincoln had told his bodyguard to stay home. His bodyguard never forgave himself. I think he might have even committed suicide out of regret. That's when they created the Secret Service to accompany the president. That's 1865 April. And the world is used to a competent president, a competent Secretary of State. They trust it. They trust America. But in these last couple of years, people are losing faith in America, trust in America. And you can see the destruction around the world. We're no longer tight with Europe. We're no longer tight with Canada. We haven't had a president visit Africa since Obama went to Mandela's funeral in 2013. China and Russia runs Africa. Even though the reports say 25% of the world's 25% of the world's workforce by 2030 will come from Africa. We haven't had a president. We had one Biden visit Gambia in December, right before he left office. South America, China runs that. Caribbean, 70-year embargo on Havana. China's building there. We never talk about it. They building here. Did you see the story? New Hampshire, where China bought this land for $65 million. Let's find it. So when I think of a president, I don't care. I think of President Lincoln and Secretary of State William Seward. Team of rivals. Let's find that New Hampshire story.